I'm Dr. Nathan, and if people don't know, I love history, and the American Civil War has always been interesting to me. Especially since being from Kentucky, there are so many historical sites near me to investigate. Like anything, people love debating what-ifs, and one of the great what-ifs was how the war would have changed if Confederate General Albert Sidney Johnston would have survived further into the war. Johnston was a Kentucky native, which was said of him, "He's a godsend to the country through the army." He inspired men on the field, and the first great battle of the war pitted him against Grant and Sherman, where he was holding his own against these historical greats. During this battle, a bullet tore an artery in his leg. He didn't even feel it. He saw a nick on his boot and joked about it. Well, and then he died because he had an artery in his leg that had been shot. The Federals then came back and won the battle without the command presence of General Johnston. Most Civil War buffs will debate if the war would have been different if he would have lived. What I want to ask is, would the war have been different if he had felt some pain? Why do animals, including people, have pain? Pain is our body telling us something is wrong and something needs to be done to correct the problem. It is a warning. Everyone and every animal has different tolerances for pain, but at some point self-preservation kicks in and our body wants us to react to these warnings. These warnings center around nerves or the stimulus to nerves. I look at it as two types of stimuli to nerves: the initial stimuli, or as I call the punch or injury, and then the long-term stimuli, the bruise or the body's response. Pain is the nerves transmitting a signal. The nerves are saying when someone punches you in the face, "Ow, that hurts." The nerves in the bruise after you have been punched in the face are showing you the damage that has occurred and is telling you there is damage. Pain is on a spectrum. Technically, typing on your keyboard is pain. You feel pressure of your fingers hitting the keys. But that doesn't hurt because your body is strong enough and conditioned enough to know how it can handle that amount of pain. But say you press so hard to break the keyboard, you might actually hurt something. It's the same receptors, it's just how much pressure is applied, and at a certain point, the pain gets to unbearable levels to warn you to stop what you are doing. Another way of looking at it is when you are hammering a nail. You feel the nail moving and the vibrations of the hammer, but your body is fine with that until you hit your finger with the hammer. Then your body tells you to cut that crap out. Often, your reflexes have even learned to prevent pain. For example, the menace response. That is when you blink when something comes towards your face to prevent pain or damage to your eyes. There is a lot to pain. There's a big mental component in animals, and the mental aspect is more understood in humans than animals. I'm pretty sure that animals have a component of mental pain because of watching them react over years and years. But what I understand more is the cellular response to pain. Basically, it's a chemical response of nerves transmitting changes in the body to the brain, which tells us to protect the body. Physiologically, something breaks or becomes abnormal. Chemicals are then released, which causes more chemicals to transmit a signal to the brain. With pain control in general, this transmission is what we are trying to inhibit or stop. French philosopher René Descartes thought animals do not have consciousness and therefore do not feel pain how humans do. Well, this is why we leave the thinking to the philosophers and the action to the doctors. Because animals have nerves and responses just like we do. This is so well known that in the 1980s, the U.S. government started regulating pain control in animals. I think here is the 2020s. It's a very important thing we need to learn to control as pet and animal owners. Animals have pain, but don't always show us pain how we would understand it. And I think pain control is a big part of vet medicine that is rather underexplored. Some of the new drugs out excite me with our ability to help animals, and I think there are a lot of animals that are in pain that deserve to be out of pain. Not only are animals and people more comfortable when not in pain, they heal better when not in pain. However, I think we must also remember why pain exists. Pain is a warning and an indicator that something is wrong. One of the big topics I bring up with students is how much pain should we take away? In human medicine, someone knows they have had surgery and should take it easy on the surgical site. Animals don't know this. Well, they do when they hurt. Now, calm down, everyone. I hear people saying, "Oh my gosh, he's going to say animals should be in pain after surgery to keep them calm." That's what people said back in the day before they wanted to give pain control to animals. And didn't you just hear me say animals heal better when they aren't hurting? Well, I did, and I believe it. But I also believe in balance. After I do a surgery, I want an animal to be comfortable and not in pain standing around or laying around, but I'm also hesitant and try to balance my pain protocols to keep them from feeling like they can run the derby. After all, pain is a warning, and after a surgery, you want warning signs to keep you from stretching too far to rip sutures or put too much weight on an injured leg. Because that's how the animal knows something is wrong, because it feels it. So I feel there is a slight balancing act. Keep the animal comfortable, but don't dope it up so much that it does something stupid. And a lot of this is on the owner. Keeping horses and animals confined so they can't go for a run or a jump when they shouldn't be. So today I'm going to specifically talk about the horse, but I hope to have other episodes about other great pain medications that I can use in other animals. But before we get to ways of alleviating pain, what are the signs of pain? They can really vary. Sometimes it's an attitude change. The animal has become aggressive or maybe more lethargic. Sometimes when watching an animal walk, it looks stiff, or the animal is being stubborn and refusing to do a task it normally completes easily. This is something riders have to determine with horses, if it's pain or the horse is just being stubborn, because it's part mule. Other things are more obvious. Sometimes the horse will look at an area of pain, for example in colic. They often looked at their flanks. In colic, they also roll because of the pain or paw at the ground. Grinding teeth is another indicator of pain. Also, a loss of function indicates pain. For example, if a horse won't walk on its foot, it's probably because it's hurting. Horses may also go off their food, or if it is an eye injury, you might see squinting or tearing. So what do you do when you see these things? Investigate further so you can fix the problem. We don't want animals to continue to be in pain. We all function better when not in pain, and we are in a modern world where both people and animals have lots of options to help control and limit pain. What are ways to control and alleviate pain? I'm going to talk about 3 categories. 1, we can stop trauma or prevent trauma. 2, we can stop cells from responding or heal cells. Or 3, we can stop or alter nerve transmission to the brain. Let's go through some examples of things that can fit in these categories. My first example is cold water. Ice a lot of times. What does this do? Well, flushing an injury with cold water will slow metabolism of cells. This slows the release of pain factors, numbs the nerves, and closes blood vessels. This is great in laminitis cases. By closing those blood vessels, it can keep toxins away from lamina in the foot and prevent damage from occurring. Also, studies show shower head pressure water 2 times a day will stimulate skin growth and healing. This is the water pressure more than the temperature, but will keep debris out to limit infection and potential pain, and limit the time the tissue is injured. Water in its various forms can accomplish all 3 categories of limiting pain. I also want to bring up range of motion exercises or chiropractic work. I'm a firm believer that Western and Eastern medicine can work well together. Last time I had a back injury, the doctor gave me drugs, and the chiropractor relieved pressure from malaligned bones and muscles. Each one alone was rather annoyingly bad at stopping the pain, but together worked great. Fit bodies are better at responding to injuries. If we and our horses exercise daily and stay stretched, we are less likely to bend too far, and strong muscles relieve pressure on painful areas of the body. Muscle is always preferable to fat. Having muscle can be padding and act as protection from trauma. Sure, bruises occur, but I would rather a bruise versus a torn ligament, both in my patients and myself. Fat is just dead weight and not near as good of a cushion as muscle. More muscle equals a healthier animal, which can respond to and prevent pain better. I tell my clients all the time, walk your dog, ride your horse, stay in shape. It's good for your animal and good for you too. I usually stress the physical side, but this also gives you time to bond with your animal, and why else do you have these animals if you aren't trying to bond with them? I mentioned laminitis earlier. A little more on that. Stopping trauma or preventing trauma is a big part of treating laminitis. You want bedding and shoeing and hoof trimming that stops the pressure which are causing pain on the horse's foot, and leg wraps to support the muscles and tendons supporting those feet. If the horse can stand and not be in pain, he can start healing easier. Another thing you can add is supplements. Listen to my nutrition episode or my equine skin episode for more, but good nutrition means you can heal well because you have the basic building blocks to heal. Another helpful thing is supplements. There are tons of supplements out there. Most of them either try to add support to the body or work as antioxidants to stop the things causing pain in the body. Now let's get to my favorite stuff, the drugs. A study showed only 37% of equine vets give pain control after a castration. That blew my mind because we have some great pain control medications in horses, and I find they heal so much better with it. My biggest used pain control in horses is NSAIDs, or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. I love these things. They can stop cells from causing pain by reducing inflammation that causes pain and alter the nerve's transmission to the brain as well. It's rather complex how they do this and a little bit beyond the scope of this conversation. Some examples of these drugs are bute, banamine, equiox, and DMSO. I use these all the times in horses. Another group of drugs I can use can stop or alter the ways nerves transmit to the brain are injectable drugs. For example, xylazine, butorphanol, ketamine, Valium, midazolam. The astute listener will say, hey, Valium just relaxes muscles. But I say, well, this can prevent some problems with pain, so I list it there. The rest have ways of stopping pain. These I generally cannot give for a lay horse person to give, like the NSAIDs I talked about, and are generally much more short-lived, so I typically follow these drugs up with an NSAID. One note I want all horse owners to hear is acepromazine, which is a sedative that horse owners like to give their horses, does not prevent or stop pain at all. If you are giving ACE to a horse and thinking that it is stopping the pain, you are wrong. The horse still feels everything. Other injectables I have access to are things like lidocaine, where I can inject a nerve or a joint to provide pain relief for a short time. Even though in my career I have drifted away from joint injections, you can inject joints with steroids, PSGAGs, or other things to help lubricate a joint and prevent pain. A more long-acting drug I have available is Osphos. I'm going to devote an entire episode to this, but the short of it is it helps remove arthritis, which can take pain away. Again, look for my Osphos episode for more specifics on how this actually works and what it actually does. So lots of options of pain control exist, and I have a feeling more will be on the way. But what about my original point? If General Johnston had some horse drugs in his saddlebag and felt some pain, could he have given himself some pain meds, got the doctors to see him, and changed the course of the war? Fixed point in time, mate. But all Time Lord jokes aside, my guess is even if the surgeons at the time had been rushed right to him because he alerted his staff to the pain and bleeding out, nothing would have changed. Like I said, fixed point in time. Everything happened as it needed to. But for us, we can start working on how to prevent pain in our animals so they don't have to go through such dramatic events in such misery. I'm Dr. Nathan. Thanks for listening. I hope our discussions are valuable to you and aid in giving perspective. If you want to contact us, please reach out to theveterinarypodcast@gmail.com. You can find a complete list of the podcast episodes on SoundCloud. If you find this information helpful and want more content, please join our Patreon, patreon.com/theveterinarypodcast. And don't forget to follow our Facebook page, facebook.com/theveterinarypodcast. As always, thanks for listening, and I hope this information is helpful to you. If you do find it helpful, please like it, share it, so other people may find it helpful as well.